Hello, hello. So, a few people have asked me after my post yesterday to share some of my insights into or my thoughts around 2025 energy and January in particular, and around some of the themes that I'm seeing with people that I'm working with. So, I thought I would just jump on and do a video. And see, there may be something in there that helps someone or resonates with you. So, as I said in my post yesterday, the start of this year has been very, very different. Usually I'm saying to people in January that we're in a clean-up month where we're tying up loose ends from the year before, and that the year doesn't normally start until the Chinese New Year. However, this year there was a definite shift as we moved into the 1st of January and stepped into the new energetic gateway, which is really exciting. But we've been tossed right into the 2025 energy, which is fast moving, it's intense. We've obviously got a lot happening in the astrological world, which is not my jam, but I can just feel it. So look that one up if you want more information. But what I'm seeing with people is that people are feeling still very untethered. So we shifted a lot at the end of last year. The last 3 months were really intense, and there was a huge shift of old conditioning, old programming, trauma, beliefs, etc. So there was a shift in our subconsciouses hugely at the end of last year to prepare us for this year. And the energetic gateway that's come about. But the physical manifestation of those changes has not quite landed yet, or that's what I'm seeing. So people are feeling very untethered and nothing necessarily to hold on to. So this is it's reminding us that we need to come back to ourselves. We need to anchor into ourselves. We need to anchor into our body and be grounded and be present. Nothing is fixed at the moment. It's definitely a time to follow the energy. It's definitely a time to do the thing, to follow the reflections, to follow the synchronicities, to follow your guidance. When something drops in, then follow it. It's not a time to wait on the definites coming into place, because that's how we move forward. We move forward by following the energy and creating as we go. But it feels very much like the long-term things have not dropped in yet. So those are still forming. It's like the foundation of those are still forming. So definitely follow the energy, but be prepared to be flexible and to change. If you sit and wait on the long-term things dropping in, then you're actually going to miss out. So it just feels like keep moving forward, but be prepared to be flexible and adaptable. And so that means having non-attachment to things, being detached, being the observer, just noticing what's happening, noticing what resonates with you at that particular point in time, following that, but not necessarily getting tied into it, and saying this is where I'm going for the next 6 months or whatever, because it feels like that will change. Give yourself some time to experience it, to consider it, and let the energy drop in around the long term, because it's not yet there yet. The other thing is we're in a 9-year, which is a year of endings. Now, endings can be chaotic, they can be dramatic, they can be challenging, and they can bring about resistance. Before change, there's always chaos. So I think we're going to see that more and more in the world. We're seeing that already, but we're going to feel that within each of us individually and within the collective as well. So it's definitely a time, again, to be the observer, to be non-attached, to have that air of, if it's out of my control, then don't expend your energy worrying about it. And that's that sense of surrender and really just following the signs, because at the moment the universe really is bringing the signs in. The veil is very, very thin. Spiritual messages are in overdrive. It's amazing to see people who didn't think they were intuitive, even though I believe everyone's got that capacity, but people who didn't think they were intuitive, they're actually starting to follow their intuition and awakening to that, which is absolutely amazing. So follow those messages, follow that guidance. Remembering that your guides they're essentially an extension of you. They are a part of you. They are connected to your higher self. So yeah, just remembering that is you that is bringing through those messages, but also remembering that you have choice. If those messages come in and they don't feel right, then you don't need to follow them. Yeah. But yeah, our guides are there to help us navigate. As I say, they're an extension of us, and they're there to help us navigate the pathway forward. So, so yeah, at this point, I feel personally that guidance is definitely worth listening to, and it's coming from a place that is tapped into the quantum field, the higher timelines, the dimensions that we don't necessarily have access to. So definitely worth listening to. Another thing that's dropping in at the moment is grief. A lot of people are experiencing grief now. That can be around suppressed or repressed grief. It can be really old grief. It can be grief related to having lost a loved one, having lost an animal. It can be grief around old dreams and letting go of old parts of ourselves and old conditioning, which is absolutely essential to moving forward in this new energy. But because we have built our identity and defined ourselves on those things, when we decide to let go of them, there can be a huge amount of grief associated with that, and that's very normal. It's also a time when we're letting go of our old way of life and our old way of being. And although we want that, consciously we want that, subconsciously there is the grief that comes with it, because we know that if we're going to move into this new way of being, this new way of doing, this new way of feeling and experiencing, then we have to let go of the old. We have to change. Things are going to be different. And so the things that we had hung our hat on in this lifetime, for example, it might be your community, it might be your tribe, it might be your family. All of those things are changing. And so that can bring about grief. So for some people, there is the physical manifestation of that grief where they haven't dealt with the emotional side. And so there's chest infections and bronchitis and things like that going on a physical level. And on an emotional level, there are people experiencing anger and sadness. And that is like grief, higher levels of grief. It's like you haven't quite got to the bottom of, or the origins of where that energy is coming from. So consider, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling waves of sadness, then it might actually be grief that you haven't actually processed and dealt with. It's time for that grief to be transmuted. And while I speak about these things as individual things, it's a collective thing. It's what everyone is experiencing at this point. And so sometimes, if you are a sensitive person, you might also be tapping into that on a collective level as well. So some of that you're feeling may not just be yours. Which leads me on to the next thing, which is basically that it's also time to look at notice how you are affected by other people's energies. So who lifts you up, who depletes you, and make choices and changes accordingly. It's also really an important time to be working with your own energetic hygiene, to have really strong boundaries, to be doing things like cutting your cords and cleansing your energy. And if you're not sure how to do those, then by all means drop me a message and I'll send you a quick, very short audio that is something that you can use on a daily basis, which if used consistently will help you to change your energy and to define your energetic space and to step into your own power, which is really, really important right now. So communities and tribes are changing, which is also leading to people walking away from things that they were connected to in the past, and that further adds to that sense of untethering. But it is all temporary. That is the good news. The other lot of conversations I've been having, a lot of conversations around narcissists and empaths. So people are, and that word narcissist is thrown around way too much, in my opinion, these days. But having said that, the thing that I always like to remind people is that narcissists and empaths have a magnetic attraction. And the reason for that is that they are both seeking to be understood. They're both seeking a space of belonging and a space of acceptance. in the world, and so often that magnetism leads them together. But I think what I'm certainly seeing with the conversations that I've been having is that there is a shift in power dynamics. Old wounds around control are coming to the surface and being shifted, and that's both on a personal and collective level. So there's going to be shifts in power dynamics this year, and all of that is going to lead us back to our own sovereignty, to our own autonomy, to our own soul energy, if you choose it. If you choose it. For those light workers and healers out there, this is really, we're being called to step up, to stand up, to own what we're doing, and to help other people to move into that space. For this collective shift to happen, we need more people to come into the light, to come into that space of the light. And the only way that that's going to happen is if those of us who are already working in that space step up. Now that means there is an opportunity to work with more people, but it also means we shouldn't forget that we need to still be doing our own work. It's not enough, our own internal work, our own internal landscape. It's not enough to just be working on other people. When you bring in, I firmly believe that our clients that we see, or our people that we journey with, I don't like the word clients, but the people that we journey with are a reflection of us on some level. So when we're working with them, we're also seeing our own reflection and doing some healing on that. But then we also need to dig deeper and do deeper healing on the stuff that we can't necessarily see, the subconscious stuff that we've got going on. So it's really important to be doing that work right now. And also, we are the collective, right? So each of us individually form part of that collective. And I hear so many people saying, oh, I'm hanging out for the change. I can't wait for the change. But you've got to consider what are you doing to contribute to that, right? You are the collective. We are the collective. You have to be a part of that. Standing on the wings and saying, you know, I'm here and I need people to step up and come, doesn't cut it, right? You're missing something. So we are the collective. You've got to do the individual work so that we can move the collective forward. By doing your own work, you're essentially holding a light space. And so by osmosis, you are, with the people that you're hanging out with, you're encouraging them or showing them how to step into that space, reflecting to them that it's okay to be in that space. The other thing that we've got going on, which I think is going to be a theme for this year, is the head to heart dance. So it's become harder over the last couple of years to remain in the heart space. The head space is your mind, it's your thoughts, it's where we analyze things, it's where we overthink, it's where the ego resides, and it's what causes separation. It causes separation from ourselves. The heart space is the observer space. Yeah, it's the space of being rather than thinking. And that's the space where the action really happens and where the shift is going to happen. But it has become more of a struggle. I'm seeing that in the people that I'm working with, that it is more of a struggle. So we really need to be making a conscious effort to be in our heart spaces, to connect back to our heart spaces. It's not that our emotions and our thoughts aren't valid, because of course they are. They're part of the experience, and they're not right, they're not wrong. They just are, and everything is going to happen as it's going to happen anyway. But it's really important to connect with nature, to be the observer, to come back to our heart space, which means coming back to our bodies as well. And that's a really important one, and I think that's one that we'll see continue to be a theme over the next over 2025, which is our ending year, and 2026, which is our new beginning year. So those are the themes. Those are the themes that are showing up in my healing room right now, and dropping in the insights. So I hope you found that useful and that something resonates with you. All right, have an awesome day, and I will see you on the next video.